To talk about the result, we head out to the fan hotline. The great Browns analyst Nathan Zegura joins us now. Nathan, welcome to the show, friend.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So it was a close loss. We started the show talking about kickers and fluky interceptions and all this. What were the big things that stood out to you when the Browns lost to the Bengals yesterday?
The Browns' defense is back, that this young rookie class certainly looks like it is full of impact players and has an opportunity, I think, to be kind of a transformative class over the next few years. And that this was a game that, I'm sure a lot of people are unhappy about, and I think, rightfully so. It's a game the Browns should have won. You hold the Bengals to 7 net yards in the second half. That's when you had the lead. You scored the touchdown to open the second half, so they've had 7 yards after that. You go even further in the fourth quarter, they had negative 23 net yards. That's a real stat, negative 23 net yards. You shouldn't lose this game. And it's 6 things, right? 5 possessions end differently than they should have, but it's 6 things. So one where you score a touchdown, you miss the extra point. That's one. You have 2 interceptions off of the hands of your receivers, one of which happens deep enough in your own territory that the Bengals are able to not do anything on offense and still get a field goal to take the lead. You have the interception of Tillman, obviously, that really kind of, unfortunately, ended the football game for you. And then you had the sequence of the 2 drops back-to-back where you had Harold Fannin dropping it on 3rd down. Jerry Jeudy drops it on 4th down. And then, of course, the last one would be when he got into field goal range and Andre Schmidt missed the field goal from inside of 40 yards. And so you add that all up, and it adds up to a loss in a game in which, frankly, the Browns should have won. They had an excellent plan defensively, offensively. I thought they did a nice job adapting to their inability to run the football and starting to get Dylan Sampson involved on what I would call long handoffs in the pass game. It's a disappointing loss. This is a game that, you felt like you could win. It felt like watching the game, you dominated them, certainly in the second half. And, you outgained them by 180 yards. And yet you don't outscore them. You possess the ball 36 minutes. I mean, there are a lot of things about this game that you should not lose. But, of course, the 2 turnovers, and I don't really necessarily put those on Joe Flacco. Those balls hit the receivers in their hands, kind of fluky interceptions. But to have that drops and missed kicks, it's hard because last year the Browns led the league in drops. Last year they struggled with the kicking position. And so these are kind of thematic things that turn around and lead to losing. And we saw the stats of Stefanski's record in one-score games. When there are no missed kicks, he's very good. When there are missed kicks, he's not as good. And the Browns have suffered more points lost from missed kicks and one-score losses than any team in the league. And that's how it feels, honestly, when you watch the game. And you saw that certainly on Sunday.
You mentioned the kicking situation. I think it's really fascinating because he was so good in the preseason and he's been so good in practices. Do you think this was just something mentally about playing in such a big game that maybe got to him, or was there something mechanically you saw? What happened with those kicks?
I don't know. I know they didn't go through the uprights. I mean, I think from a pressure standpoint, think about the kick that he had at the end of the Rams game. You say, yeah, but that's preseason. Well, if he goes out there and misses that kick, he's probably not kicking in the NFL. So that's a pressure kick, and he put that one right down the middle. Mm-hmm. I don't know. The first one was very good, and then I think once you miss one, it maybe gets into your head a little bit, and it is a very mental thing. It's the closest thing to, a golfer who starts thinking about their swing, and that usually doesn't produce great results. So it's unfortunate because it cost us a game. It really did. The defense, I really think even if with the missed extra point, if you made a field goal, you went up 2, it just felt like our defense was going to get the job done. Myles Garrett was playing on another level. I mean, even for him, which is saying something. But it's just, I don't know what happened. And it's one of those things where you're not going to know. He can make every kick in practice. You're not going to know until he has to kick in a game again. And at that point, it might be, okay, good. He unlocked something, and now he's been able to go through it. Or it might be at that point too late. Like if he comes out and misses his first kick, if he is, in fact, a kicker against the Ravens, and it feels like at least, he certainly is not going to be the kicker against the Ravens at this point. We'll see.
Nathan, I really like Joe Flacco's game. You mentioned switching to the short pass game when the running game wasn't working there. I also don't hold him accountable for the 2 interceptions, but it did feel like we didn't get as many shots down the field as we were used to with Joe 2 years ago, and it felt like the Browns were a little bit more conservative with what they asked Joe to do. How much of that was the game plan for Cincy, and how much of that is the game plan going forward?
Well, I definitely think they want to get the ball down the field, and I know they had a lot of explosives in the game plan. They matched up at times You got a lot of cover 6 from Cincinnati in this one. Now, they played more man than they played last year, about 32%, but they also did a lot of disguising down. They went 50% of the snaps. They showed middle of the field open, 2 high safeties, but they'd rotate out of it. Flacco certainly has seen that before. He can deal with it. I would say a couple of times where he got pressure is where they really had shot plays dialed up. There was one where Isaiah Bond definitely was behind the defense. There was another one to Jerry Jeudy where he ran a double move right before the end of the play, actually right before the interception with Jerry Jeudy, where I think he would have been open for a chunk play. So I think they were in the game plan. It's a combination sometimes of pressure, could also be a combination of sometimes you hit that, you go for that play, but it ends up in a shell look, and so you end up checking it down. But no, the Browns definitely want to be aggressive. They want to push the ball down the field. We did not really get to see that as much in this game. And quite frankly, you know, from an offensive standpoint, you weren't moving the ball. You just didn't finish drives the way that you need to finish drives. And what I mean by, you know, the drops, a couple of interceptions, and then obviously the missed field goal.
You talked about the rookie class earlier, and I think you're right. It's got a chance to be transformative. But one thing that stood out to me was just how good Fannin was. Yeah, he had the drop on 3rd down, 3rd and 5, but outside of that, it was just like a near flawless game, Nathan.
Yeah, it was. Again, this was a game that Browns fans are going to be very frustrated by, and justifiably so. I know that there were not a lot of people happy in the building today because you lost. It's 24-hour rule. You got to flush it. But as we said, there were a lot of good things to take away from this football game on both sides of the ball. Defensively, it's almost flawless. Offensively, young players in big roles, showing what you want. Flacco still having it. So this is a frustrating day because you should have beaten the Bengals. And I think that sets a whole different tone for this season. Now, we know it's going to be very hard. The Ravens lost the game. They shouldn't have lost last night. You're going to go to Baltimore. You're going to get the very best of the Ravens because they're going to want to make sure they get back to 1-1. But this was just a tough one because you saw the things that you thought. And I've talked with you guys about this. We say kind of what's the Browns' path, right? Good defense, hit some shots when they're there, run the football. We didn't do that very well in this game. Hopefully getting Quinshon Judkins will help, but the blockers have to be better. I mean, Dylan Sampson had 29 yards rushing, 27 of them after contact. Nobody's going to run the ball effectively if you're getting hit at the line of scrimmage. But it was going to come down to it. We got to be good at kicking the football. And we weren't in this one. And I think that's one of the things that's tough because we've dealt with that, unfortunately, much more often than the opposite. The anomaly was obviously 2023 with Dustin Hopkins.
Nathan, great stuff, buddy. We know you got a boogie, but we appreciate you making some time for us on a busy day. And overall, I kind of came away from this one a little bit more, maybe a little bit more confident what they're going to do than I went into it. So that's a good feeling to have on a Monday.
No doubt. Listen, this team is better than the national narrative of it is. However, it's a binary business. It's about wins and it's about losses. And yes, you could say there are things that were encouraging here, but boy, it'd be a lot more fun to talk about them after one because that was a game the Browns should have won. So hopefully they'll be in more positions like that where they should win games, and then they'll execute and they will get those dubs. But thanks for having me on, guys, and hopefully next week we're doing a little bit of a Victory Monday, which would be a very big one on the road in Baltimore.
We'd enjoy that. Nathan, take it easy, buddy. Browns analyst Nathan Zegura on the fan hotline. It's really weird to come out of a game. And I kind of made a similar point to this at the beginning of the show where, like, in a way, when the kicker loses it, it's just so easy. Just flush the kicker out. Like, the quarterback played well enough to win. Your wide receivers made plays. The pass blocking, I thought, was really good, and then the defense was dominant in the second half. So it feels like there were so many wins out there that, like, I did see the pushback of, like, we're not doing silver linings radio today. We're not doing silver linings analysis. It's like, what game were you watching? Like, that was a game that they were 5.5-point dogs, and if not for, I'll say, just one errant kick, the field goal. I don't give a rip about the extra point. Other than the fact it's 1 point off the board, to me it's the field goal.
Well, it's frustrating.
What you get paid to make.
It's frustrating, as Nathan says, just because this is one you should win. But like, if you just did box score looking and box score looking alone, find me the thing the Browns didn't just dominate the Bengals over. I mean, it's everywhere. From time of possession down to passing yards, down to total yards, down to first downs, to third down efficiency. Like, they absolutely dominated the Bengals in so many different facets. And I don't think I've ever watched a Bengals game where I left thinking to myself, Burrow was held in check, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were basically non-factors in this game.
Greg Newsome had a nice game.
I was going to give flowers to Greg Newsome.
Outside?
Greg Newsome played phenomenally. Now the one pass breakup, it seemed like he got very lucky to just kind of like get his hand in there as he was doing like a Buzz Lightyear falling in style type thing. But yeah, like there was so many positives there. And it's very, very rare to shut down that trio that Cincinnati has and then have the Bengals still end up with a win. And that it makes it maddening. Like the Browns and Stefanski, they played and did exactly what they wanted to do in many facets of this game. To not walk away with the victory it just sucks.
Well, but this is the catch-22 of it. So much of what I was going into this game looking forward to is you've given us your vision of what you need to do to win. And that includes having a dominant pass rush up front by your defensive line. That includes control the line of scrimmage, run the ball based off play action, get some shots down the field, and a return to the old form of blocking, as it were, the zone run blocking scheme. And I know the running part didn't show up, but you were able to offset a lack of consistent quality on the run game by never completely bailing from it, by the way. You still took a lot of chances across 4 quarters to get it going, but then Joe Flacco kept the interception plays. That's different than interceptions, but the interceptable balls play at an absolute minimum, and he overcame the lack of run game with a short passing game. Like, the proof of concept is there from Sunday. I'm not trying to like be overly optimistic coming off a loss, but
sure.
I needed to see that. Yes, I did need to see that Joe could do what Joe did yesterday, and which is a lot different than if you would just run the ball all over him and Joe had maybe been for 150 yards passing and being a check down Charlie.
Unfortunately, the only real symmetry from last year to this year is the idea that you did lose the turnover battle, and it's because of those interceptions. And it's like the interceptions alone are part of the reason why you lost this game. It's set up for the field goal. I don't know that Joe Burrow was scoring in the second half, if not for great field position after that interception. So it was tough.
And like with the kicker, the kicker just didn't do his job. With the wide receivers, that's very fluky the way those interceptions happen.
Yeah.
The fact that 2 of those happened in the same game, and I really I continue to go back to them. Like, neither were incredibly well thrown balls by Joe. They weren't moon balls. They weren't sloppy passes. He didn't throw it too hard.
No, but he's doing what you should do, where you keep the ball low instead of high in that scenario.
Well, but again, I can't really I can't prescribe any blame there. So I get to prescribe the two of the other big reasons why you lost, the ones that annoyed me a lot more, because offensively, you can't have those kind of turnovers. You can't have those kind of boo-boos, no matter who it's on. Well, I can even write those away because of the fluky nature. And because of the
sad part is it's like a series of unfortunate events, but it does always make you ask the question of, why does this always seem to happen to us?
Well, okay, and now if those same kind of boo-boos keep happening, whether it's kicking or the drop passes.
I've had a lot of Stefanski games where we've left wondering, scratching our heads, being like, how did we get in this situation again?
I did like Zach Jackson tweeting out Kevin Stefanski's record in I think it's 1-score games where there are no kicks missed. He's 15-6. And then it's Kevin Stefanski's record in either 3-point games or one-score games where at least one kick is missed, and it was not good. And then it go one step further. It's can't we do this with every head coach in the NFL?
Yeah, I thought it was a little misleading by our guy Fanta to send us that one, as if it was like a feather in Stefanski's cap there.